Well, here we go again. About 4 months ago, I made a video regarding a very specific YouTuber known as Acerthorn. Acerthorn, for anybody who isn't already aware, is a YouTuber with about 2,700 subscribers who is infamous for his 2 videos regarding Dark Souls Remastered and Elden Ring, among many other things. While I would love to go into detail about his history of abusing the legal system, stabbing his father, and trying to falsely sue YouTubers such as Kretosis, Enclave Emily, Sid Alpha, and many, many more, I do not have the time. So, I'll be leaving links in the description to several of their videos regarding Acerthorn, and generally, what a massive piece of shit he is. In both of his Dark Souls and Elden Ring videos, Acerthorn lambasts both games for completely asinine reasons, which are all either exaggerations or straight up lies. Hell, in the case of the Elden Ring video, he admitted that he didn't even buy the game.
How much of this game have you played? Well, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, and this is an objective fact. I have played precisely 0 minutes and 0 seconds of this bullshit game, and I still know it's bullshit. What?
How the fuck can you critically pan a game for being bad if you haven't played it? The video I made about him garnered quite a bit of attention, receiving over 5,400 views, making it one of the most popular videos on my channel. Now, I have to make another video about Acerthorn, because he recently uploaded a video titled Dark Souls and Elden Ring Do Indeed Need Easy Modes. This video actually piqued my interest, as there is a lot you can actually say about that topic, so I'm really interested to see where Acerthorn takes this discussion, if he can even get it off the ground. Now, before I start analyzing this video, I should note that throughout the video, I will be showing several parts of Acerthorn's video on the matter. The reason I need to emphasize this is because, in typical Acerthorn fashion, he has a disclaimer hidden in his YouTube channel's description that reads as follows. Disclaimer: all videos on this channel and my Twitch channel, including all live streams, are my property and copyrighted by me unless otherwise specified. Acerthorn owns all the copyright to all videos on this channel unless otherwise noted, and I claim copyright of all material. Basically what he's saying is that if anyone uses footage of his videos, he can strike them down. But, because I'm using his work under the condition that I do so for the sake of commentary and criticism, this video will be protected by the Fair Use Doctrine, which states that you can reuse copyright-protected material under certain circumstances without getting the copyright owner's permission, such as commentary and criticism, which is the whole point of this video. So, if Acerthorn attempts to strike down this video, he is officially admitting to not knowing a damn thing about copyright. Let's hop in.
When it comes to the debate of whether or not these games need easy modes, it usually boils down to 2 main arguments. First, in favor of easy modes is the argument of accessibility. If an easy mode were added to the games, more people would be inclined to play the games, thereby increasing its sales and popularity. And as long as the mode was optional, it wouldn't intrude on anyone who doesn't want the mode in it.
When it comes to FromSoftware's games and accessibility, you're essentially being tasked with trying to design 2 entirely different games and package them on the same disc. You of course have the standard game, with the default combat, movement, attack timings, boss health, and progression system. Then, you have the game that has the accessibility features. The problem with trying to put accessibility features into a game like Dark Souls or Elden Ring is that you wouldn't really be able to do much. If Dark Souls had a standard easy mode, it wouldn't really be that hard to program, in theory. Just decrease the general enemy health, the damage they deal, and bingo, easy mode done. The problem with making a mode that is specifically designed to make the game more accessible is that when it comes to games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring, you'd have to change a lot more than health and damage. You'd have to change almost every single tick of the game to make it work. You'd have to overhaul how the enemies work, how you progress through the game, how items are distributed, how bosses are handled, so on and so forth. Now, I'm all for making games more accessible, but when it comes to games like these, it's just too much. Not only would you have to take into account players such as people who aren't able to hold controllers properly, perhaps due to a physical disability or abnormality, you'd also have to take into account people who are colorblind, people who have slow reflexes, people who can't see well, so on and so forth. You can't just put in an accessibility mode for one group of people either, because while you would be adjusting the game for them, you wouldn't be adjusting the game for others. And if you did try to adjust the game for everyone, then the game's options menu would look like this. Just a massive clusterfuck of text. That, and it would take the devs a lot of time to actually work on these features. Soulsborne style games have a unique flavor to them. They're a niche kind of game. Not everyone likes RPGs, not everybody likes puzzle games, not everyone likes FPSs, and not everybody likes Soulsborne games. As much as it would be amazing to see as many people as possible try out these games, it simply wouldn't be a feasible task for FromSoftware and would simply result in them having to rework the game, which could result in the game becoming a jack-of-all-trades, master of none, where the game is accessible, but at the cost of the story, bosses, and general gameplay being compromised, which results in it being mediocre across the board.
On the other hand, opponents of an easy mode argue that the challenge is the whole point of these games, so an easy mode would just gut the games. They further argue that those who fail to get good honestly don't deserve to play Dark Souls or Elden Ring, and that if they want to have fun with these games, they need to earn their fun.
The difficulty of the Soulsborne series is part of the appeal of the series, but it isn't the main reason why people enjoy these games. While many game journalism websites will lead you to believe that Dark Souls is fun because it's hard, and that's that is far from the case. To me at least, the games are fun because they are challenging, but also have grand and unique worlds, allow you to roleplay whatever the hell your heart desires, and slay giant enemies with the greatsword from Berserk. That's why I love these games. As for the whole get good argument, that is partially true. Partially, but not entirely. If you go into a game like Dark Souls and expect a casual medieval adventure, you are going to receive an attitude adjustment greater than any that John Cena could ever hope of pulling off. The games are hard, sure, but they are fair in their difficulty, and they constantly teach you to learn from your mistakes. If you simply throw yourself at the wall, hoping to get further than you did last time and break the wall down, you'll find that that strategy rarely works. If you instead try to approach the game from a different angle and try to find where you went wrong, you'll learn how to tackle the game's various challenges, and you'll find yourself enjoying the game more. Are you too slow when fighting enemies? Wear lighter armor that enables you to move faster. Is a shield not helping you in combat? Try two-handing a weapon. Is a group of enemies too much of a hassle to deal with all at once? Just run past them. And if you are still struggling to play this game by this point, the game has one more way of trying to point you in the right direction. When you die in a Soulsborne game, you drop all of your money, which is represented by souls, blood echoes, or runes, depending on what Souls game you're playing. But you don't automatically lose your money permanently. When you respawn, you're given one chance to go back to the exact spot where you died and retrieve your items. If you die before you get your items back, they're gone for good. That's how the Soulsborne series teaches the player how to get better. It teaches you that repeating the same mistakes that got you killed initially will likely get you killed again. When people in the Souls community tell you to get good in a Souls game, most of the time, we're not saying that to be dicks. We're saying that because that is literally what the game is trying to tell you. If you continue playing and trying to get better, you'll eventually break past that brick wall, and you'll find yourself enjoying the game a lot more. I know I sure did when I played Dark Souls 1 for the first time.
Now, when it comes to traditional arguments, that's really all there is to it. It's mostly just these two arguments being shouted on an endless loop, with no further development, because each side sees their argument as singularly definitive in the debate, while simultaneously seeing the other side's argument as patently frivolous. For this reason, no side feels the need to consider anything further because each side feels their own arguments are enough.
Wow, okay, that's actually a good point.
That is actually a good point. Despite there being a lot of good people in the Soulsborne community, all too often I've seen the argument of should the Souls games have an easy mode end up resulting in a screaming contest. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but I've witnessed it happen on more than one occasion. For once, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, Acerthorn made a good point.
No.
However, there's actually a third argument to this debate, and it's one that I feel breaks the tie in the debate, causing easy modes to ultimately win out.
What?
Wait, really? There's a third option? This debate's been going on for almost 10 years, and there's a third option. This video is honestly surprising me a lot more than it has any right to. Alright then, what is it?
But before we can talk about that, let's talk about the FromSoft fan base.
No, son of a bitch!
Oh, god damn it, Ace! You were doing so well! Why are you completely derailing your own script to rant about something I already made a 40-minute video rebutting? Why?
Nah, I'm about to blow my fucking brains out!
The most popular video on my channel as of the time of this writing is one where I explain that I feel Elden Ring sucks. Not because of any of the story or game mechanics, I literally haven't even played the game, but because the FromSoft fanbase is so incredibly toxic that it kills the game for me just on fanbase toxicity alone. I don't even have to play the game myself to have this opinion, because by that logic, you can't really judge Fred fucking Phelps unless you've actually participated in his little religious cult firsthand.
If any of you people at home know anything when it comes to critiquing media, like let's say a movie, a book, or a video game, it's that you actually have to experience that thing in question in order to give your thoughts on it. If you haven't, you can't critique it because you haven't experienced it. End of story. Let me give you an example. As of the recording of this video, I have never played Bloodborne. I've heard it's a good game, but I haven't actually played it, so I can't personally confirm that it is a good game. If I simply wrote a review for the game saying it was good without playing it because I heard it was good, that would be partially disingenuous on my part, even if the game was actually good. Now, if I actually played Bloodborne and said it was good, the narrative's different, because I've actually played the game. What Ace is saying is that Elden Ring is bad, but he hasn't actually played the game to confirm this. Because of this, his opinion is automatically disingenuous because he hasn't actually played it. Not just that, but his argument for why the game is bad has nothing to do with the game itself. It has to do with the FromSoft fanbase. Just because a fanbase in your eyes is toxic doesn't mean that you can enjoy the game that fanbase is associated with. Personally, to me at least, I currently find the current fanbase around Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially with its recent ban lists and formats, to be incredibly toxic. But despite that, that doesn't stop me from constantly playing Master Duel, Duel Links, and the physical card game itself, and having a great time with my friends. The only reason why you yourself feel so stingy on the matter is because you made 2 disingenuous reviews, got called out on them, and immediately started playing the victim, blaming the games being bad because of the fanbase and not the actual games themselves. Also, who the f*** is Fred Phelps, and where does he fit into all this? No, wait, actually, who is Fred Phelps? I'm gonna quickly Google this. Give me a sec. Who is Fred Phelps? Alright. Oh, sweet Jesus, he works at the Westboro Baptist Church.
Oh, my favorite.
The vast majority of FromSoft fans are the kinds of toxic shitheads that you would expect to find lurking among the deepest bowels of the dark web.
What am I watching? I don't know, but I hate it.
The vast majority. I think the vast majority you were referring to are the combined 125,000 people who watched your terrible reviews of Dark Souls and Elden Ring and proceeded to call you out on your lack of professionalism and review etiquette. Also, don't ever compare any of us to f***ing wiki farms, of all things. That website is literally filled with people who stalk people for the dumbest reasons possible and force them to move across the country they live in so they don't have to fear dying in their sleep.
From the point of view of a vast majority of them, everyone in the world can be lumped into two categories. Either you absolutely worship the ground that Dark Souls and Elden Ring walk on, and would sell your soul for the chance to stand in the shadow of Hidetaka Miyazaki's ass for even a split second, or they are a bunch of filthy casuals who need to kill themselves. There is no in between.
Oh, hold on. I dropped my pen.
Also, again, with this vast majority bullcrap. What vast majority? The one you made up so you could have enough content to pad out this 9-minute video? You're just after saying the vast majority of people who play Dark Souls worship Miyazaki like a god and basically spit into the mouths of everyone who doesn't play Dark Souls. That is one of the boldest statements I've ever heard, and I've watched over an hour of your stupid f***ing videos. In saying that out loud, without exaggeration, proves to me that you hate this fanbase more than it hates you. You are constantly trying to blame the people who like these games, so that way you don't actually have to come up with a good reason as to why you think these games are bad. Instead, what you're doing is constantly complaining about these games, comparing them to shit like the Westboro Baptist Church and wiki farms. When we complain about you, Ace, we follow up our claims with evidence. When you complain about us, you claim that we tell people to kill themselves with no further evidence. Who sounds more believable in this situation?
I previously did a live stream debate on the toxicity of the From fanbase.
Stop!
Oh my sweet Jesus! What is your room? Oh my god, oh my god. Listen, I know I'm supposed to be critiquing your video right now, but what the actual fuck? Where do you live? Chernobyl? I swear to God, I've literally seen abandoned buildings in my hometown cleaner than this. I don't even think I can come up with the words to describe how awful your room is. Oh my god, I need a minute. Like, I need 5 minutes. Just give me a sec.
1 hour later.
Okay. While I personally don't have the words to describe how awful your room is, this clip that I have more than sums up your room nicer than I could.
Let me put it this way. Take the most horrific, awful thing you can think of and multiply it by cancer.
In it, my debate partner showed me a Reddit poll where a lot of people insisted that the fanbase isn't actually that toxic. If you want to hear the counter-arguments I've already made to that little piece of so-called evidence, go ahead and check out the archive of that video.
I would actually check out that archived video, but you've locked it behind a paywall. How am I supposed to watch your video when it's locked? How?
Instead, I have a new counter-argument to make. Yeah, unlike you guys, I actually update and evolve my arguments.
Have you considered that the reason people don't like you or take your video seriously is because you take unnecessary cheap shots at us every chance you get? I mean, yeah, I may have taken a shot at Ace once or twice in this video, but considering that he isn't showing me courtesy in this debate, why should I show him any? If you insult me, I'll insult you right back. I wasn't raised to take shit from people who look like the human version of a damn Snorlax.
Anyway, the problem with this poll is that it doesn't take into account people who believe the toxicity is fully justified. See, a lot of people tend to subconsciously believe that whenever some sort of adverse action has a moral justification to it, that's basically the same thing in their minds as it not even being an adverse action in the first place. For example, if you kill in self-defense, that's basically the same thing as not killing at all. At that point, the victim effectively killed himself.
Am I dead yet?
What the fuck are you talking about? How did you steer the conversation from Dark Souls needs an easy mode to justifying manslaughter as not technically killing somebody, despite the fact that that is the literal definition of manslaughter? You've gone so far off course that you've literally turned the video into an entirely separate one halfway through.
This applies to toxic behavior as well. Take, for example, this Reddit post, where the OP insists that he's not the asshole because he's treating a rapist with the respect he feels rapists deserve. Now, from an objective standpoint, he is indeed being super toxic towards this guy, but he doesn't see it that way. He sees his actions as being completely morally justified. Because of this, he doesn't even see himself as toxic at all. Justified toxicity is tantamount to lack of toxicity in the first instance.
Okay, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. For this one section, I'm not gonna censor myself, because I need you all to hear this unfiltered. So if you hate swear words, click off this video, or click the timestamp, because HazyGray is about to turn hazy red. The reason the original poster of this thread is being toxic towards the person he mentions in the post is because the person he is disrespecting is a fucking rapist. A person who sexually assaulted another human being. The moment that you decide to fucking murder someone or rape someone in cold blood, any and all respect that you deserve is thrown into the fucking trash. As someone who has had to deal with people attempting to sexually harass people in my life, people like this don't deserve any kind of happiness of any sort. The moment that you decide to take away a young boy or a young girl's innocence, you can take your pronouns, your rights, and whatever the fuck you have left and chuck them straight in the fucking trash bin. The fact that you felt the need to bring this up, of all things, in an attempt to defend your terrible opinions on an argument you lost months ago about a fucking video game shows how fucking spineless you are. Fuck you. And now the censor bar is back on. Let's continue our fucking regularly scheduled program.
That being said, let's turn again to the Reddit poll that my livestream debate opponent showed me. The second most popular response was that the community is actually wholesome and not toxic. But we have no way of knowing how many toxic shitheads voted that way solely because they feel that the toxicity that filthy casuals receive at the hands of the true FromSoft fans is actually justified, which in their warped view is tantamount to not being toxic at all. So no, until I see unambiguous and unfakeable evidence to the contrary, I still stand by my initial argument that the vast majority of the FromSoft fanbase is exceedingly toxic.
Now you're claiming that the poll you were shown is faked evidence? Man, just say that you've lost the argument and move on already, please. Roughly 6,000 people voted on that random Reddit poll, and you're claiming that it doesn't count as evidence? The only reason you're saying that is because, like I've stated 1,000 times already, it is very clear that you hate FromSoftware fans more than they hate you. As long as doing so allows your narrative to appear squeaky clean, with no faults, you constantly try to write off any actual evidence that proves that FromSoftware isn't toxic.
And now for something completely different.
Now, I'm going to step away from Acerthorn for a sec and talk about fan bases in general. So please, stick with me here. When it comes to any fan base, doesn't matter if it's My Hero Academia, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, or even the goddamn furry community, there will always be a dark side to it. In most instances, the dark side is a very small majority of toxic people whose actions speak louder than the actions of those who are on the good side of the community, who can actually be really wholesome. When you look up stuff about the furry community, as an example, you'll probably be immediately bombarded with stuff about zoophiles, sexual predators, and some of the more NSFW artwork they tend to make. And while yes, stuff like that does happen, it also happens in a lot of the other communities I've just mentioned. It's a shame that some of these communities have to have these bad apples in them, because some of these communities have come together to create some genuinely amazing things. Recently, a guy managed to make a working program that can scan a Yu-Gi-Oh card when it appears on camera and project a corresponding 3D model, making the game feel more like the TV show. And when you consider that there are currently 11,000 cards in Yu-Gi-Oh, that is seriously impressive. And even more recently, a member of the furry community managed to make a mod for VR chat that allows people to speak to deaf players in sign language so they can communicate. That's amazing! The point I'm trying to make is that every community, regardless of what it is, has both a good and a bad side. That also includes Dark Souls. The narrative you are actively trying to spin is that a large majority of the FromSoftware fanbase is filled with no-life gatekeepers who would rather spend their whole day circle-jerking on Reddit than actually doing something productive with their life. In actuality, the percentage of people in the FromSoftware fanbase who act like that would probably be somewhere in the 1% and lower category. Same goes for most other fanbases. I'm not saying that FromSoftware's fanbase is devoid of toxicity, but what I am saying is that it is a much smaller majority than you are making it out to be.
Well, the From fans who believe that their games shouldn't have easy modes also tend to overlap almost entirely with those who believe that toxicity towards anyone who isn't head over heels in love with the games is totally justified and therefore not toxic at all. After all, their reasoning for not wanting easy modes in these games is, in itself, gatekeeping and elitist. They don't want easy modes because they feel that anyone who isn't the most hardcore of hardcore gamers doesn't deserve to play this game anyway. Once you've disconnected from reality to that degree, your sanity is already past the point of no return. So acting like Dark Souls and Elden Ring are literal deities is honestly small potatoes at that point.
That, once again, is another bold claim of yours. What you are saying is that everyone who believes that Dark Souls shouldn't have an easy mode is automatically a vile scumbag who thinks it is perfectly moral and justified to make fun of people who want an easy mode in Dark Souls. Personally, I don't think Dark Souls or Elden Ring should have an easy mode. But it's not because I'm some douchebag gatekeeper. The reason I think that Soulsborne-style games shouldn't have an easy mode is because it would take away from the overall experience. Trying to overhaul the game would make it more accessible to those who are unwilling to try to improve the game. It would result in the game losing a lot of its overall charm and appeal, among many more problems. Plus, like I mentioned earlier, it could result in that jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none situation. Now, where in that argument did I make fun of people who can't play Dark Souls? If you're drawing a blank, that's the point.
So how does this translate to the games being better off if they had easy modes?
Finally! It only took you 7.5 minutes to get to the point of your video, which is 9 minutes and 15 seconds long. Let's finally hear it.
If easy modes were implemented, the true FromSoft fans would likely throw a big-ass temper tantrum. They would scream, kick, break a lot of things, and those of us who actually live in the real world would have a nice hearty laugh. And once that happens, the toxic shitheads will likely boycott FromSoft fans in mass droves. This will cause the game's fan bases to dwindle at first, but now that the fan bases have become significantly less toxic thanks to their exclusion, more and more casuals will swoop in to fill the void in the fan base left by those toxic shitheads, thereby restoring balance to the universe, while the toxic shitheads get to do nothing but wallow in their own misery.
I get it.
I don't get it.
So, what you're saying here, if my ears are not in fact deceiving me, is that the reason you think Soulsborne games need an easy mode is because it will result in everyone who thinks the game shouldn't have an easy mode to boycott the game, leaving only the people who actually want an easy mode, resulting in the entire course of the series to shift towards a more basic gameplay loop, thus losing the entire point and appeal of the franchise in the first place.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Do I really need to explain why this point is dumb? Do I? Do I really need to spell out why this is one of the stupidest fucking things I've ever heard? What was it you said earlier in the video?
If an easy mode were added to the games, more people would be inclined to play the games, thereby increasing its sales and popularity, and as long as the mode was optional, it wouldn't intrude on anyone who doesn't want the mode in it.
The idea that you've put out here, if it came to fruition, would literally kill the series outright. Most of the people who play Soulsborne are people who have played previous games and are accustomed to their difficulty. For many, the difficulty is what makes Dark Souls fun. If what you're suggesting was to actually happen, then that would mean that everybody who would end up playing Souls games would be people who believe in easy mode. If that was the case, wouldn't everybody then pick easy mode? And if everyone were to pick easy mode, wouldn't that completely negate the point of having a normal mode? At that point, the devs would probably scrap the medium difficulty and make the easy mode the new standard, thus resulting in all the games going forward having dumbed down design, thus resulting in the series eventually growing stale, which would inevitably result in all of the people who wanted an easy mode to become tired of the series, and result in them asking for a harder game, which puts us all the way back at square f***ing one. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why the Souls games shouldn't have an easy mode, and why Acerthorn is still a complete joke. Ever since I covered Acerthorn a few months back, the man has not learned anything from his previous videos. He continues to unapologetically bash games he has never even played, takes cheap shots at the Dark Souls fanbase, completely disregards the idea of the Dark Souls community having a good side, instead choosing to exclusively focus on the negative side, and above all else, tries to push a toxic narrative that all Dark Souls fans are worthless, ass-kissing degenerate gatekeepers who have nothing better to do with their lives than to tell people how shit they are at a specific video game, and to get good. And ladies and gentlemen, one more time, with feeling, that is why Acerthorn is still a complete joke. If you've made it here to the end of this video, thank you guys so much for watching all the way through. It took a lot out of me to sit down and sit through even more of Acerthorn's content, especially when you consider that the combined runtime of this video and the last Acerthorn video will probably add up to well over an hour. But in the end, it will all be worth it. And after sitting through Acerthorn talking about complete nonsense for about 9 minutes straight, you guys probably need a palate cleanser. If you guys want to see a video regarding the topic of Dark Souls having an easy mode that is actually well produced and doesn't take cheap shots at the viewer,
What?
I will be leaving a link in the video description to the Actman's video on why an easy mode would ruin Dark Souls and Elden Ring. It's only about 20 minutes long, hits every point you need to hear about this subject, and as an added bonus, doesn't waste 85% of the video's runtime by talking about your disdain for the Dark Souls fandom. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell to stay up to date with my newest videos. This is HazyGray, and I thank you all for joining me this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your night.